Welcome to Ask Andrew. I am Andrew Ledette, husband, coach, musician, and woodworker. Today's episode is all about everyone's favorite F word, friction. Friction can be irritating, but it can also produce better outcomes. We will start today with a short meditation about friction before a screen share of a counterintuitive idea to add more friction to create less friction. So let's drop in and take a little pause for breath. Invite you to find a comfortable seated position, allowing your body to relax and sink into the support beneath you. Close your eyes gently. Bring your attention to your breath. Inhale deeply, feeling the air fill your lungs. And exhale slowly, releasing any tension. Perhaps your shoulders are tight or your jaw is clenched. Maybe your fists are clenched as well. Gently bring your attention to these areas, and with each exhale, imagine the tension melting away like ice on a hot summer day. Let's explore the concept of friction. In our daily lives, we often experience friction as something negative. It can show up as disagreements with colleagues, conflicts with loved ones, or challenges in our personal projects. It's like the screech of chalk on a blackboard or the resistance of tires on a wet road. But what if we looked at friction differently? What if, instead of an irritant, we saw it as an opportunity for growth and transformation? Friction can be like the sandpaper that smooths away rough edges, revealing a polished and stronger surface. If we imagine friction as a catalyst for change, how can we challenge our assumptions? How can we let it push us out of our comfort zones and force us to find creative solutions? Think of it as a spark that ignites a fire. That's friction to a match. Think of a time when friction led to a positive outcome. Maybe a disagreement with a coworker led to a new and improved process. Or maybe a conflict with a loved one deepened your understanding and strengthened your bond. Inhale and exhale. Friction can also be draining and overwhelming. It can feel like a constant battle. It's important to acknowledge these negative aspects as well of friction without getting caught up in them. Take a moment to notice any physical sensations associated with friction. Perhaps you feel tension in your chest or your stomach. Breathe into these sensations without judgment. And exhale. Take 2 more breaths on your own as you observe this feeling and see if you can let it go. Breathe into that stress, that tension. Hold that breath and then exhale. 1 more on your own. We imagine ourselves as skilled tightrope walkers, gracefully tiptoeing around the challenges of friction. That high wire act, each step you have to find your balance, using the tension of the rope to propel you forward. The key lies in finding that balance. We can learn to harness the positive aspects of friction while minimizing the negative impacts, the fall from that tightrope. But it requires constant attention and adjustment. Take another inhale. 3, 4, and exhale. 2, 3, 4. As you begin to open your eyes, bring your awareness back to your body. Take a deep breath and gently wiggle your fingers and toes. Slowly return to the present moment. Remember that friction is a natural part of life. There are a lot of great things that come from friction. By understanding its dual nature, we can transform it from an obstacle into an opportunity for growth and transformation. Take a few moments of silence to integrate these thoughts. Feel free to hit pause. Take a couple breaths before we dive in to a screen share on how we can create some friction to release friction. Hope you feel better from that meditation. Now, possibly a counterintuitive idea to create friction, to release friction. What I'm sharing now is a quick form that I mocked up in Google Forms. Previously, I've used Asana, Trello, other task management apps. You can do this within those apps as well. This is a free way. Google is free. If you have access to it through your employer, great. If you have access to Asana or Trello or some other project management tool, that's great too. The notion here is, how do you create a bit of a barrier, some friction, to then help you prioritize tasks? Very often what happens in companies is work gets moved around, natural flow of tasks. But sometimes it's hard to get all of that information, all of those tasks, all of those asks into one spot. The thought there being, if you struggle perhaps with saying no to things, whether that's a polite no, a rude no, or just a not now, perhaps a form helps you to create a process to intake the information from people when they ask something of you. Ask for your time, ask for your brain, ask for your expertise, ask for something of your team. And so from here, what I built, very simple, prioritizing helper. And I'll share this out as well. If you would like a copy of this to tinker for your own goals, I'm happy to share it with you. Just drop me a note, askandrewcoaching@gmail.com, and I'll create a copy for you to edit to your heart's delight. Quick fly through of how I built this. If you haven't used Google Forms before, super straightforward. You add blocks and types of questions. The essentials I put in here are capturing who's the person requesting the thing, that's captured by email. And then I asked for a brief description of the task or the ask. What is it that someone's wanting you or your team to do? This next question, the second question, I think is a huge game changer, because the main thought for this exercise of creating a little bit of friction is to help someone who's asking you to do a thing connect the dots. What bigger company or team goal does the completion of this task connect to? And here I just mocked up 5 very common company jargon corporate goals. Work generally can align to a couple things. It can either increase revenue or market share. It can increase efficiency. It can help the customer out, help them be more satisfied. Fourth, it can help you develop and retain top talent. Maybe it's a recruiting idea or a way to reward current employees. And then fifth, can it drive innovation or product development? So these are 5 somewhat generic goals that you can add to force the person or invite the person into aligning their task to a larger goal. A question I thought of putting in here, optional for you, I learned this from another product leader, is how certain are you, or how big of an impact do you think the completion of this task will make? How big of a splash? Is this a low level impact? Hey, I just need you, or I want you to complete this report by Wednesday. Okay, maybe that doesn't greatly change the landscape. Or maybe it's a report that's going to shareholders or going to higher seniority members of the company. That can help you gauge how important that task is. If you're familiar with the Eisenhower matrix or other frameworks for decision making, how important / how urgent is the task? That can help you with aligning that task to a certain bucket when you go to do the thing. All right, next we move on. What's the desired completion date? What's the when? When does this thing need to be done by? Also marrying that with the urgency, that can help get you that matrix if it's urgent and important, having the when. Next, we have help define successful completion. This I learned from a workshop I went to years ago. Someone had mentioned this concept of, what does done look like? Is it something with a bow? Is it a finished product? Like that'd be the bow. Or is it just crudely wrapped? Like if you've ever received a gift from me, maybe it's in the bag that it arrived at my house in. And so from there, that helps you define what does done look like. So maybe you don't do more than you need to. And finally, the last 2 questions, what are the requirements? Are there other things that I need? Does it involve other people, other tools, other budget? And then the last part is an ability for someone to upload different files. From my experience, very often workload comes in via email or via Slack or Teams or chat. This helps consolidate, guide the people into a pathway to give you the information you need to prioritize the work. The hope here is that this little bit of friction, having someone fill something out to request your time, your team's time, your energy, your brains, allows that little barrier, or maybe it's something someone can do themselves, or they can help. This form can help them see that the task does not connect to a larger goal, and therefore maybe isn't something to pass around. That's the notion with this little bit of friction, create friction to then release friction. Maybe it helps you better prioritize your work. And then from there, what I would recommend too, if you haven't used Google Forms, the general flow here would be someone emails you or sends you an IM and asks you to do something. I would send a message, hey, thanks so much for the ask. I'm trying something new this week, this month, this quarter to help manage my workload. I'd love your help by filling out this form. I've made it pretty straightforward. Please take a look at it and copy the information over to this form. You might get some pushback, you might get friction on the friction, but the key is continuing to make that ask, that it is part of your experimentation to better your team, better your workload, better your work-life balance. And then hopefully seeing that people will buy into it. Maybe not everyone does. They may continue emailing you, calling you, messaging you to do a thing, but some percentage of the people will get on board for this. Try it out, see if it helps you manage your workload. The other part here, so when people fill out this form, wishful thinking, in Google Forms, you can link to sheets. So then whenever something comes in, I can create a new spreadsheet, and then everything will be populated here. This then can be my workload manager. I can have the dates as a field that I can sort. I can add additional fields for prioritization of tasks. The beauty of other work management tools like Asana or Trello, they allow you to do this a little more fluidly in a more aesthetically pleasing way, but the notion here remains the same. Guide people to a certain path, have them do a little bit of work rather than just hitting forward on a task to send to you, to create a little bit of friction so then you can better strategically approach your tasks and asks. I hope that is helpful for you. This is something that I instituted a few times and have seen in many companies that I've worked at. A little bit of friction to help release friction. Inhale, exhale. Thank you for joining for Ask Andrew today on our favorite F word, friction. Let me know how it goes. As a recap, if you would like a copy of the form on the screen now, drop me an email, askandrewcoaching@gmail.com. I will gladly send you a copy of it so you can tinker with it. If you'd like to chat through it a little bit more, let me know. Happy to help however I can. Until next time, have a great day. Take care. Enjoy those moments of friction and keep those eyes open for all those ways that friction helps us improve and have a smoother, easier life. Take care, everybody.